social media, all it takes nowadays to spark up an online fight is to merely have an opinion. One opinion will cause many to spiral into a pit hole of anger where no one dialogues, only insults the person who has the unpopular or even the popular opinion regarding the latest trends in comic books, movies, or pulp culture. It makes sense given the circumstance. After all, acting tough behind the protective wall of the black mirror we all own and use on a daily basis makes it easy for anyone to jump right into a tirade of insults and threats. Again, just for having an opinion that they may disagree with. I decided to go against that notion. I've decided to start a video series where we discuss the hot topic issues within the comic book industry and pulp culture and provide you with another perspective. One of logic, reason, with just plain old dialogue between two people who have different opinions. My co-host and I will discuss the pulp culture topics at hand in a fun, engaging, and respectable manner. So, without further ado, let's talk about it. Hello. Welcome back to another edition of Let's Talk About It. I'm your host, Julius Freeman, and with me, as always, is the one and only
Kyle.
Freddie says, Valentine's vacation is over.
Yes.
That's true. It is over. Valentine's Day vacation is officially over for Kyle and myself. But it's good to be back. We took a bye week because of things, of course, some of us have significant others, and so we have to spend the day with our significant others to just hang out, have a good time. But we're back
as one does.
Yes. And we're back now to talk comics, to talk everything that's going on in comics, movies, pulp culture, whatever the case may be. But before we start, Kyle, how was your week, man? What'd you pick up that was interesting or not interesting?
Well, let's see. Week has been going by pretty good. Picked up some stuff. I didn't pick up anything like old stuff. I picked up a lot of newer books that we'll get into in this episode. But I picked up, just going through them all, I got Conan the Barbarian, number 18. This is nice. With the new artists that was, I think this is the first time that they're on this one. It's like a 2-issue, like, trial, I guess. If they're trying to, they're testing out this artist.
Yeah.
And flipping through it looks pretty good. Got Flash Gordon, what number is this? 6.
Nice, already the 6th issue, huh? I remember we we reviewed issue 1. It's been 6 months already. Holy crap!
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Wow, that's how time flies by, dude.
Ultimate Wolverine, number 2. So,
very nice. Very nice.
All the Ultimate Universe stuff. G.I. Joe, number 4. This is the G.I. Joe that's with Transformers and Duke and all of them. Not to be confused with the other G.I. Joe, Real American Hero. That's the continuation of the original Larry Hama G.I. Joe.
Okay. Gotcha. So that definitely, what you're holding there, I would say, guys, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching the show, this might be a key issue down the line. So if you have not been picking up this version of G.I. Joe, I think you should, because from what Kyle has told me, it's pretty damn good.
Oh, yeah. Then I got these ones I got them because they're cool, and I kind of want to read the story, but mainly it's just for the covers because it's Alex Ross. What the X-Men.
Nice.
Alex Ross. And it's the number 1, so I'll read it and see how it is, but mainly I just got it for the cover. And then the Immortal Thor. And
nice.
This one just looked interesting to me, and so I just wanted to pick it up too. And it's Alex Ross, so there's always that.
Well, there's the plus right there.
Yeah, but it says Thor's final adventure begins here, so maybe this is like the last arc in whatever storyline that they're doing. So I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll pick it up and see how they're doing. And then the last one, which we're going to talk about later, or last 2, is Zatanna, number 1.
Nice. I also got myself a copy of that book.
Yeah.
and I'll explain a little bit why I decided to pick this one up. And even though I'm not a Zatanna fan, full disclosure, but go on, Kyle.
And then Aliens versus Avengers, which we'll talk about a little later too.
Gold standard, in my opinion. If you guys have not been picking up Avengers versus Aliens, just shoot yourself in the face. Just do yourself because you're missing out on some fantastic sci-fi here. And at first I was a little bit hesitant about this book because when it comes to licensees, I mean, technically it's not a real license because Disney now owns both properties.
Yeah.
I was still a little worried that this was gonna be watered down, kind of like the way Wolverine and Predator was. It started off strong, but then it kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? It kind of just spattered away like like an old engine car that just died at the end of its life. And this one though, Avengers.
I don't know if it's my connection or yours, but you're kind of cutting it out.
Oh, I lost you for a second. I kept going. I don't know. Well, whatever the case. This one though,
it's one of us that's glitching out.
I'm still going, but Kyle, you're glitching out on my end. So chat, please let us know if it's Kyle or me because I'm fine on my end, but Kyle is good. It's not good on my end. So let us know who's glitching and who isn't.
Well, on my end, on my end, it seems like I'm good, but he's the one that's glitching.
That's crazy. Both good on this end. That's weird. It must be just good. It just must be this, bro. I don't know. It just must be the
I don't know, man.
Can you hear me or no?
I can hear you. Yeah, it's just like you're just cutting in and out a little bit.
That's crazy because I'm like fine on my end. I'm not cutting out on mine.
It's the same with me.
Weird. I'm showing full bars on my end too, which is odd to say the least.
I got full bars too.
Whatever. Let's just keep on going.
Technology is weird.
Yeah, just to show you guys that I'm serious. Here's my copy of Avengers versus Aliens, but I got the you have this copy.
I have that one too.
Okay, yeah.
It's
I picked this one up. Here's my Rome Eternal number 2, which we'll be reviewing later tonight. And then here's my copy of Zatanna number 1, all in. And then this one, I don't know if you barely could
face it more towards the light.
I don't know if you can barely see it or not. There you go. It's kind of glaring, but it's Power Man. It's Power Man Iron Fist, Luke Cage cover. He's standing in front of a moving car. I got this issue because I saw someone post it on Twitter or X. And I loved the cover. I thought the cover was kind of like, if you're a serious craftsman of comics, that kind of cover is the kind of cover you want to buy and study and kind of see, okay, what made this cover what made this cover make me want to pick it up, make me just want to just grab it. And it was such a good cover. I was like, I made a mental note of like, okay, I'm going to go to my shop this Wednesday. I'm just gonna see, because it's a shot in the dark, right? Because it's an older book. It's from the 70s, and typically those are kind of becoming harder to find now in 2025. So I thought,
you have a shop that's like dedicated for that.
Yeah, because most shops now only carry new stuff that started from the 90s or like late 90s. It's very rare when you go to a shop that still has. What's that?
Or they just get a collection in randomly, and right. Usually most of the keys and those types of books are already picked through and out.
Right. And so I looked through it, and lo and behold, there it was. And I picked it up, bought it, and I'm glad now I did, because I have it now. I own it. But with this comic book thing, it for a lot of years, the industry had struggled, right? I think it's safe to say. COVID, when the COVID shutdown happened, that was pretty much like, I would say not the final nail in the coffin, but definitely a nail in a coffin, proverbial coffin. Sales were already kind of teetering on the red at that point, because the content has gone down, the quality of writing. The art was still there, but the writing was kind of like, at least to me it was. I can't speak for anyone else but myself. And so I only picked up certain books that I thought were really well done and worth the $4 to $5 that they now cost.
Yeah.
And after COVID, I kind of went back a few times here and there just to pick up a few books that from my favorite writers or artists, and still, even with those individuals, those artists, the book still didn't feel, I don't know, exciting or fresh or new, and it was just kind of like whatever. And then as the months turned to years after the COVID, when things started opening up again and people were starting to get back into it, I spoke to a lot of comic shop owners who, specifically one, when I went to San Diego to hang out with the 656 crew who came down to San Diego for something. I forget what it was. And I was talking to the owner of this comic shop. I was waiting for them in, and we had a long conversation, and then finally, it boiled down to me asking them, what makes these people come back if they don't like the books? Like, what is it that's keeping them coming back month after month? If you tell me that whenever you ask your readers or your customers, hey, how was this book? How was that book? And they always give you the same answer, which is, it's all right.
Yeah.
And that's like
it's a cool variant cover.
Yeah, something like that, right? But someone like me who wants to break in, who wants to be a professional and wants people to be excited for the stuff I write, that's like chalkboard to nails. You don't want to hear that. No one wants to hear that if you're a serious comic book creator. No one wants to hear it's all right. That's like the worst thing you want to hear. You want to hear either, oh, it's great, man. I'm really like so good. I'm excited for it, or even hell, I'll even take, it was crappy, dude. I didn't like it. I'd rather take that than like it's okay, because one is you're being nice, right? And that's respectable. And then two, you don't like it. So I would like to know why you don't like it. But then again, you're dealing with books from Marvel and DC where you have people saying constantly, it's all right.
Right.
And so when I asked them what brings them back, they say, well, I just like the characters. And that's
so the love of the character is still there.
The love of the characters, and also I think the love of the fact of the hobby, right? Buying comic books and reading it, enjoying it. And again, it's the love of the characters, the connection with the characters. It's almost like a nostalgic connection, but also at the same time, we're not gaining new readers at all. Yeah. No new readers, no young readers, I should say. It's all kind of older and older generation. It's almost like, dude, we're like, the readership of the comic book industry is dying out. We're getting old, and kids today don't want to get books. I mean, you're an exception, Kyle. I mean, you're not a kid, but you're still relatively young. You're a new reader, fresh reader, and who's now come. You've been educated by myself and other people you've met over this past year and a half while you buying and collecting comics. So that brings us to the subject of tonight's episode, which is Rising from the Ashes, which is the reason why I gave all that preamble, is because I've been noticing lately that some books are starting to come up in quality to the point where I'm actually getting excited for some of these books that are coming out, And you see, I mean, you've known me long enough to know whenever you show me something new, I'm always like, yeah, well, that looks all right. Yeah, that looks okay.
It looks all right.
But
it looks
lately, like you even mentioned to me during, this past week when we were working, how like, wow, I've never seen you like so excited for something like a book, like Satana, for instance. Satana was an example.
Yeah.
Kyle here showed me a few preview pages for Zatanna, and I looked at it, and at first glance I was like, oh yeah, another typical Cal Arts type of style. But then when I started looking at the paneling, at the sequentials, I was like, wait a second, well, this is actually pretty good. And I started looking even more carefully at it, and I was like, no, this is really good. Like, holy crap, I'm actually, whoa, this is pretty dope. I might actually.
And then you're like,
this up.
Who did this and who wrote this? And it was the same guy.
Jamal, what's his name? That's just to give him his credit where it's due. It's oh wow, there's no credit page.
Oh really?
Where's the credit
That's
page?
got to be a credit page.
Bear with me for a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Jamal Campbell is his name.
Okay. That's the only thing I don't like about books is it's not like the credit page aren't centralized anymore. It's like the older books where it's like it was the first page first, or the first page on the inside cover.
Yeah, right.
And that was where it was.
Jamal Campbell wrote and drew this book, and I have to say, guys, I read the issue earlier today, and it's fantastic. It's primo. I highly recommend it. If you were thinking about, if you're not a fan of Zatanna, or maybe it's a character that it's not really to your liking, I will still recommend this book because it's well written and well drawn too. And not just well drawn in terms of like, oh, the art's good. No, the sequentials are on point. But have you noticed that, Kyle? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, this was like this is what you just brought up though. Is like, I've been working with you for, close to 2 years now, and I go and I show you all the books that I get. And like you said, you're like, oh, that's kind of whatever. Oh, that's whatever. I'm like, only very rarely do I ever like show you a book and you're like, ooh, I got to go pick that one up. And like actually like go and pick it up.
Yeah.
And then most of the time too, when you actually do pick it up, your reaction is always like, yeah, it was all right.
Yeah. After I read it, right? Yeah.
After you read it.
For sure.
And so lately, like we've been mentioning though, lately there's a lot of books that have been coming out that were like, oh, this is actually really good, both just on the initial impression and when you've actually picked it up and read it.
Yes.
And so that kind of caused us to think like, well, it's almost every single, like a lot of like the big titles and even some of the smaller titles are getting that way. And so that kind of spurred this conversation of like, well, is things starting to pick up? Are they starting, Marvel and DC and all of them actually like listening and like doing a correction and trying to like, see, oh, this stuff actually sells, so we can do more of that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of signs that's looking like that's the case, because you've got all these books that we're going to talk about. You've got Jim Lee and Jeff Loeb are going to be coming out with Hush 2, which is going to be a big book. And then, just last year you had the two bigger books that come out, which was Ultimate Spider-Man and Absolute Batman.
Yeah, and those were huge. I know 400. Well, it didn't reach 400,000. It reached close to 400,000 for Absolute Batman. But in this day and age, close to 400,000 is pretty freaking good.
Yeah.
It's not a million, which is fantastic. It should be a million.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's enough shops anymore to be able to sell a million, unless there was a extremely high demand where it's like, no, we need a second, a third, and fourth print of this book.
Let's see, I think it is up to fourth printing right now, but they start printing, second printing right after the first printing is.
Yeah, because they sell off on the what do you call it, distribution level, right? The wholesale level. And if they sell out from all the shops, then they reprint because they realize, well, the demand is high, so let's keep on printing until there's no more demand of the first one. However, that was probably the beginning of it, because I really loved Absolute Batman #1. I think that's another book that I think people should read and check out, because Scott Snyder, he's done a pretty good job getting people, creating the buzz to get people excited for Batman, even though it's very easy to get excited for Batman because he's such a cool character at this point. I would say he's probably a lot more cooler and surpass Superman, the most iconic character of the DC comic book publishing house.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I think Batman is #1 on the list in terms of popularity and getting people hyped for it.
There's 5 printings. It's on its 5th printing right now.
Well, there you go. So the demand is high. And also, before we get more into it, they also announced, I can't believe we talked about this earlier too, in the week, about how it was always fun back in my day here, there I go again, right?
Back in the
Whenever
olden times.
whenever the two publishers put their egos to the side and decided, hey, you know what, let's do something fun and let's do a crossover together. Let's have your characters with our characters interact. The fans will
Yeah.
love it. We can make a whole bunch of money.
Yeah.
And that's one example. The Avengers versus Justice League, which was drawn by George Perez and written by Kurt Busiek.
Yeah.
And so this is another sign that for me and for Kyle as well is like, this is obviously a sign that things are going to turn around because they realized. I'm speculating here, okay? So don't take this as gospel. I don't have an insider, okay? I don't have someone who feeds me insider knowledge or nothing like that. I'm just pure speculating here. I'm pretty sure that some bigwigs had the meetings and says, you guys need to turn this around because we're not making any money. We're losing money. And this right here, this article, new Marvel and DC Comics crossovers announced at Comics Pro, is indication of that.
Yeah.
So that's huge news, which also tells me that the tide is turning or the pendulum is swinging back. Freddie says comics need more social media presence, not just the company, but each book. Yeah, I think the social media thing, Freddie, if the companies were smart, they would allow the readers to do that for them. Because then it's genuine, it's authentic. It's not a company line. They don't hire a social media army of bots to like just push out their product. It needs to be like this show right now. Right now, what Kyle and I are talking about is genuine. Like this is a genuine excitement for the future because of how many books so far. I mean, it's not like a all across the board, but I'm starting to notice more and more starting to be like, hey, this is pretty good. I'm actually enjoying this. I actually want to find out what happens next. I'm actually finding myself getting mad that the book is already over. You don't have to wait next month,
Right.
And so,
or that the shop's already sold out of all of it and you have to go and order it.
Exactly. So
Which
I
has
think
happened to us.
I mean, to answer to Freddie, I would say, yeah, that would have to be a genuine, that was the only way we would know that, okay, this book must be worth the pickup, because that's another thing that kind of hurt the industry, I feel, back in the day, and still does to this day, is you have the yes men who are out there who just say everything that comes out is great. And in reality, it's not. It really isn't. And I remember when I worked for that website, I forgot the name of it, Geekality, I think it was. I used to write reviews for comics, and I was, it was free. I didn't get paid for that, but it was nice to get free comics from the guy who ran the website. And he tasked me to review a lot of the mainstream books. So he had me review a lot of DC, Marvel, and Image stuff. And he liked the fact that I was honest about it. And I told him, look, man, I'm not going to beat around the bush. If I don't like this book, I'm going to write that I don't like it.
Right.
And that might piss off the people who are supplying you the stuff, but that's just the nature of the game. But I think that this past 10 years, the industry has been harmed because you had a bunch of people who just said, oh, this is great. This is great. And then when the person who believes them went to the shop and read it and were like, this is crap, dude. What is this? and that hurt, that hurt the industry in the long run. Maybe not in the short run, but in the long run it did, because then you'll be like, oh, maybe it was a fluke, right? And so you trust them again and you do it again. You're like, what the hell is going on here, dude? Why is this guy saying it's good when I'm reading crap?
Well, I think it's all just about setting expectations and stuff too, because when I first started reading comic books, I was reading the new stuff that was coming out, and I thought it was good. I thought, yeah, this is a good story. What are you talking about? And then I hand off a couple of those issues that I think are really good to Julius, and then he's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
This isn't good. And then he's all like, then he goes to the back bins. He's like, here, read this. And then, I read that. I'm like, oh, this is so much better.
Yeah.
It's from the, it's like from the 90s, the peak comic book. Or I read like Dark Knight Returns and stuff like that. I'm like, oh yeah, this Batman is way above anything that I was reading.
Yeah. And that's because your palette wasn't developed yet. And I think that's the problem that a lot of fresh readers and young readers don't have quite yet. And so when you read something that's subpar and you're new to the game, you're gonna read it and you're gonna think it's good.
Yeah.
Then that's fair, right? That's nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. But at some point, you have to develop your palate and know the difference between what's high quality and what's mid or average. I shouldn't say
Yeah.
mid, average, and what's below average, because those three things exist in all spheres, be it corporate mainstream or the indie sphere. And then unfortunately right now, there's a lot of average to below average books
Yeah.
in the market right now.
But
And
as we've been, kind of talking about, it's starting to turn
Ben,
around.
it's starting to turn around, yeah, and that's what we want to focus on this show. It's that
Yeah.
we're recognizing that the tide is turning, because one of the main things that I learned as an artist is that commerce and art, they go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other, and
Yeah.
you can't be unbalanced between one or the other. You can't just purely focus on your art, even though obviously you should, right? Because you want to be the best possible storyteller that you can be. But if you focus too much on just the artistic part of it, then your business side of it, the commerce side of it, is going to suffer, because you're dedicate all your energy into being a creative, and vice versa. If you're too business minded, then you need to have a little bit of creativity or creative energy to produce commercially viable stories, is what I call it. And that doesn't mean selling out. That doesn't mean writing watered down, like mainstreams. It means they just know the rules of both worlds. Know the fundamental rules of promoting, marketing, and business, logistics and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
then learn the fundamentals of storytelling, you know, character development, plot, story beats, etc., etc. And then when you find that balance of the two, and I'm speaking purely from one indie to other indies who may be out there watching. When you work for the corporate mainstream, you don't have to worry about that too much, because the publishers take care of the promotion and the marketing for you. But if you're an indie, you definitely have to do all that yourself. So you have to pay for your own table at the cons. You have to call up the vendors and the store owners when you have a book. Well, not so much today, but back then when you were on previews, you would have to, call up the store owner. Hey, I got this book coming out from Image. Yeah, I think you guys will love it if you pick it up for your shop. But for Marvel and DC, that's all taken care of. But like Kyle said, there's the tide changing and things are
Yeah.
looking up, I think, because like I said, I was pleasantly surprised this past few months from like, hey, wow, this is pretty freaking good, like what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
If mainstream is on its way back, did indies miss their window? Good question, Ben. Ooh, that's a good question.
That is a good question.
Let me. You have anything to say before? Because I know I might go on a tirade here, but
You're gonna, yeah, okay. Let's see. Yeah, a lot to say about that. Okay, well, if mainstream is on its way back, I think the indies missed their window. I think that, um, no, I would say my gut instinct would be no, because that would just bring more people to the medium in general. And kind of like how the high tide will raise all boats in
yeah.
situation.
Mm-hmm.
So if Marvel and DC are bringing in all these people to the shop, then, for instance, if they're bringing more people in the shop, then more indie creators will have more opportunities for the shop owners to pick up their books and have them on the shelf with everything else. So if more people are coming into the shop, getting their Marvel and DC book, they can look over and see, oh, look at this indie book. That looks interesting too. Versus now, or a couple, like a couple of years ago, where not many people are going to the shop, and the shop owner maybe only picks up a couple of issues, and then, or just whoever orders them, and so you're limited to how many people are there. And I think just in general, if if the DC and Marvel are putting out more titles that have better artists and better writers, maybe that's a chance for some of these really good indie creators, like artists and writers, to have a place in Marvel and DC, and then really get blown up because of it. So I
Well
would
said.
say, as a whole, my gut instinct would be that it's probably a positive thing. And just in general, then that kind of also falls more on the indie creators and say, like, okay, it was kind of, not saying that before, but like from the mindset of like, well, DC and Marvel are so bad right now. If I just put out something mediocre, it's going to look way better than what Marvel and DC is doing.
Right.
So they'll pick
Yeah.
up it. But if Marvel and DC are doing stuff really good, oh, well, maybe I need to step up my game a little bit more
Right. Yeah.
to make it more noticed. And so then that boosts my quality up.
I think you pretty much hit it on the head, Kyle. I don't think I have to add to that.
Really? I just said everything you were going to say?
I think so. Yeah. I think it's safe to say you did. Because that's pretty much, that was going to be my answer, is that, yeah, it's always been this way in comic books. Marvel and DC has always been the two big powerhouses that brought in people to the shops. And, like myself, and I'm sure thousands others, at some point, I'm not saying you don't get tired of it. I'm just saying at some point you're like, I want to try something new. This looks pretty good. This maybe something a little different from my regular pickups of X-Men or Captain America or Avengers or Justice League, Superman, whatever.
Yeah.
And see if I could find something that is something not maybe the same genre. Like, oh, I like superhero comics, so I'm gonna see if I can find an indie comic book that's kind of like superheroes, and maybe there's a different take on it or whatever.
Yeah.
But someone like myself, I grew to love the medium as a whole, that I was able to just, I'll try whatever. I'll try whatever looks good to me. Doesn't matter if it's what do you call it? A Western genre or a crime genre or a thriller genre. Huh? Horror. Yeah. Horror genre. If it's something that flows well, follows the structure, follows the sequential, then I'm all for it. So I think for the most part, most readers get to that level where they start off with just picking up their trusted brand name, books. Yeah. And after a while, they're like, I want to try something else. I want to see if maybe there's something else out there. As we saw with like the success of, like, for instance, the Ninja Turtles when they first got published in the 80s. Bone, Jeff Smith's Bone was another example of like it. They never got picked up by a big publisher. They just kind of did it on their own, but they had enough of a fan base to like, I like this, this book. I want to buy more of this book. Missing the window? No, Ben, I don't think so. I think Kyle, to add to what Kyle said, bringing your game is the most important thing, and developing your game too is the most important thing when it comes to pursuing this career. And I feel that the cream always rises to the top. That's a tried and true saying. And if you do put in a lot, your grade 8 effort to writing or producing your best work every time you jump onto a project that you self-finance, or maybe you partnered up with someone who you're both dealing with, like putting in money to invest in producing your project. If you always bring your A game, that's always going to show. Readers will always pick up on it. But at that point, it'll be entirely up to you, the indie creator, to sell it, to promote it and market it, because no one's going to look your way, because everyone's looking at the big lights of Marvel and DC and Image and Dark Horse in some instances. But if you're an indie guy, you got to come up with something that's going to convince people to want to back you and to want to see you grow. And I've seen it. I've seen countless examples of people I follow on Twitter who I've been following for a few years now. I don't interact with these people. I maybe here and there, but never fully, right? I'm not their friends or anything like that. But I've seen countless examples of someone who posts a picture in their small little con in the hotel lobby, one table, one book, one poster, one bookmark, and then like a few years later, they have 4 books, a banner behind them. And, now they're taking pictures with people who bought their books at the con, at a bigger convention at that point.
Yeah.
So that is a sign of success. I mean, it's not huge. It's not Ninja Turtle success, but it's something. It's enough for you to sustain yourself to continue doing this. So no, there's no missing your window. It's just a matter of bringing your A game every time you produce your own project. The Fizz Chozo Corner. I love that name. I recommend just using magazine distributors. That's what I'm going to do. Working on making a 3D comic right now. Oh, nice, dude. Nice. Are you talking about like a 3D comic with the glasses, or just like art wise, or are you going to do a special kind of printing?
Like holographic?
Like holographic. That's pretty interesting. That'd be cool. I just realized I've never finished Lock and Key. Probably should eventually. Lock and Key is one hell of a book, dude. I don't know if you'll like it, Kyle. It's a horror comic. It's written by Stephen King's son.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's well done. It's well written.
Did he pick up his talent, Stephen King? His son?
I would say yes. Yes. He picked up his talent, and he went down the route of comic books. Joe Hill, thank you, Tom. Hey, Dionysius. What's up, dude? It's been a while. Joe Hill, thank you, Dionysius. Joe Hill is his name. That's his name.
Joe Hill.
Freddie says, I just had a thought. In the world we live in where we can Google where is the nearest comic book store, I noticed most people would ask me where I got my books. Do you think if there was a store like a Walmart, would more people buy comic books? I think more kids would buy comic books at a Walmart.
Yeah.
There
is a thing. There is, as we talked about in a different episode, I think it was. I don't know if we did talk about it, but Dollar Tree was bringing out some reprints of old books or backlog stock that they had, and they just bagged up and put it out for $1. But it was like exclusively DC books that they had for $1. They're at all general stores,
right?
Just dollar store.
I think they will, but it has to be, eye catching. That's what got me to pick up books. Is when I entered my comic shop, I just saw nothing but great looking covers that I wanted to buy them all. In other words,
yeah.
And so comic books need to return to a point where not only do you just have a cool cover on your comic, the cover's got to be enticing enough to have the young kid go, I want this. I don't know why I want this. Because good art or great art is not enough. You got to have the arsenal of great art plus telling a story with your great art. And that's what always makes a great cover, is that the art is great, but it's also telling you a story while you're looking at the cover. Hence here, I'll show an example. This. Hold on, let me just get rid of my background here for a second. Oh, can you see it?
It's the background's still on.
All right, hold on. Give me a second, guys. I'll just real quick. Boom. There you go.
Yeah.
Now, if I were a 10-year-old or 11-year-old and I was at Walmart or a grocery store for that matter, and I saw this in the line to check out, my parents' groceries or whatever, wouldn't this want to, like, I would just, mom, can I have this? Can I have this? Can I have this? Just because
35 cents.
Yeah, 35 cents. I mean, that wouldn't be 35 cents.
Yeah.
It'd be $5, but it's not like, to parents.
It'd be like the same as a candy bar, basically.
Yeah, kind of like, but it's a book, and then plus the parent will be like, well, you want to read, so that's great. You don't want to be on your phone. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I think that's what I mean by, great art, great art piece, right? That's a great, artist, obviously, but he used his skills to tell a story. Why is this guy able to stop a car? are running, a car like straight on and him not be hurt. Now I need to know. I need to know who this guy is, and
'Cause
that's
that's
what I'm
like,
talking about.
yeah, because that's basically like the Superman pose with the train that he like stops or something like that, or basically Superman, but with Marvel's character, and it works. It looks cool. It's
Hmm.
just a cool pose, an action shot.
Great action shot. Yeah, exactly. And so if Marvel and DC go back to that, and of course I don't have to go back to exactly what I just showed you guys, but something to the fundamentals of that. Yeah, I could totally see kids at Walmart going, I want to get this. Mom, please let me have this. I need to have this. So
Yeah, and I think there's definitely some titles out where that's the case, like currently, where there's like uh as we'll go into, there's like the one I'm looking at right now, which is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles book. That cover and the artist for that is like great, and he was also the interior artist as well, and it's just phenomenal the work that he's been
phenomenal.
doing. Yeah, so here it is. This is the one I was talking about.
Yeah, Juan Ferreira. I'll just say Ferreira. I'll just the Y is silent. Um, I told Kyle about this artist months ago.
Yeah.
And then I told him, dude, this guy is going to draw Ninja Turtles. What issue are you on right now? I have to pick this one up. And I don't read Turtles. And Kyle will be my witness. I'm not a fan of buying the comic book. I infamously told him the story about how I entered the shop one day and they're looking right at me was Ronin, the last Ronin, #1
Yeah.
on the shelf. There's lots of copies left. It was like full. It wasn't even like the last one. It was just like, oh, cool. Oh, Kevin Eastman wrote this. And I looked through it and I was like, oh, cool. Last Turtle. Oh, it's pretty cool. And I put it back down and I didn't buy it.
Yeah, man, you messed up big time with that.
Oh, hey, dude, I know. Don't I know it? And so, in hindsight being 2020, of course I should have just bought it because it just for the fact alone that Kevin Eastman wrote it.
Oh yeah.
And so, and it was also the fact that, the final turtle, well, who survived? That should have been enough for me to be like, all right, cool, I'll just pick it up.
Right.
But I didn't. And so Juan Ferreira, I follow him on Twitter. I've been following him on Twitter for about a year. And he always posts some great art. What did he say? This nerd said Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He I had my eye on this guy for a while, and I was like, man, I wonder if he does any interiors. And I kind of checked, but I didn't really look hard enough because I was like, oh, whatever new that comes out that he does, I'll pick up. I'll just do that,
Yeah.
And then when he started posting some images of turtles, I was like, wait, is he just fan serving? Is it just like a fan art thing, or is he actually like gonna draw it? And then, sure enough, one day he announced it, and here we are. Ninja Turtles.
I mean, like, look at this. I mean, this book, single-handedly, just this book alone, rose to the like in terms of my list of like ones that I'm excited for. This Turtle series, because this is number 6.
Yeah.
The first 5 issues were all done by different artists, and the stories were all each about each individual turtle. And also Casey Jones. And so it was just kind of like hit or miss between all of them.
Yeah.
And because they were all separated, it was about them like, they were all separated and it was about them all coming back together. And this is the issue where they all like actually were together as a unit again. And man, once I read this issue and I saw this art, it like I said, this was those issues were like at the bottom of the list of like if my pile of books to read. Yeah. I'd always put that at the bottom, like I'll get around to it whenever I get around to it. Now, when this book came out, instant top of the book, instant top of the stack, where I must read this book first, because of how good it is.
And the cover, I mean, look at this cover. This is what I'm talking about. It's the best of both worlds. It's the poses, right? And each turtle has their own unique pose. Leonardo and Donatello kind of look the same, but but Michelangelo has his own. And then you have Ralph here on the motorcycle against another Foot Clan member on the
On the
blade. It's
actual
like, dude,
sword,
this is
and the
fantastic.
sword is the street.
Yeah, yeah,
See, that's the type of stuff I want to see in comic books, like especially in the covers and stuff. It's like cool stuff like that. Like the sword is the street and everything.
yeah.
It's stuff that you can only do in comic books. Why not use the medium to its advantage?
Exactly. And Juan understood the assignment. I'll just say that. Freddie says, have you guys seen the TMNT Puma shoes? It's ridiculous. You have to buy 4 pairs to get the Shredder shoes.
Oh,
Yeah, I
seriously?
mean, dude, that's kind of like the way it is, right? Like they want to take as much money from you as possible, and this is a tactic how they get you to do it. But no, I haven't heard of that. I haven't heard of that at all.
That's funny though. You should have to buy all 4 pairs to
Yeah,
to get the Shredder
it's
ones.
kind of like the comic book formula. You buy all 4 issues and you get the 5th one, for free or whatever.
Yeah.
But this is an example of what we're talking about on tonight's show about the rise, the pendulum swinging, the comics coming back. This right here is, I mean, this 2-page spread is just phenomenal. And this is not a review, by the way. So we're just going
No,
to show you highlights of the book because they're worth seeing, Brady said they're burying shoe. But I mean, take a look at this 2-page spread, dude. It's the explosions, in the sewers,
they're
right?
all
Those are the
getting
sewers.
out. Yeah, that's the sewers. The I guess in terms of the story, the Foot Clan are basically taken over, and they're sort of like disguise themselves as police officers and rescue workers
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And they're all after the
Woo.
turtles because they come back to New York. And so this is the first time that they're all back in New York. And it's just like the dialogue fits perfectly with what each turtle would say. The action is great. You've got, look at all those lines of the
Yeah.
speed chase lines. You got some great, action poses and just the amount of panels that they're able to put on all of them.
Yeah, look at that, dude.
Yeah.
How rad is
See?
that, man?
It's like that's definitely something that you would see the turtles do.
Yeah.
He's kicking him as he's jumping off, or jumping off the car. It's just
Yeah, it's good stuff. This is one of the examples that we want to show you guys. And it's always there's another factor at play. Going back to Ben's question about indie missing its window. This is if you are an indie creator, be it an artist or a writer. I'll use an example as a writer because I myself am one, and I have to pay out to hire artists to draw the stories I develop. If you could find yourself an artist who understands the fundamentals of drawing comics and sequentials, then your job becomes a whole lot easier to do. And if you can find someone who's willing to take chances and risk and try things out, and if you or yourself as a writer are okay with a little liberties to your story, because I know some writers are very, controlling, right? They don't want their story changed. They don't want anything changed at all. But if you just allow the collaboration process to do its thing, you could come up with some high quality stuff that could go side to side with a Marvel or DC book. And readers always look for that. Readers always look for that when they pick up an indie book. Does this, I guess, what's the word? What's the phrase? Does this level up or own up?
Level up, yeah.
Yeah, is this the same level as my professionally produced DC and Marvel book?
Right.
Does it have the same? Is that the same level? And if they are, you got yourself a new reader. You got yourself a new fan, because it's indistinguishable, right? It's like, okay, this can be a Marvel or DC comic if it wanted to be, but it's not. Right. It's like the small press book or it's a self-published book, and readers
and that's happened.
Yeah, it's happened a lot. And so that's where you want to be at as an indie creator. You want readers to oh man, dude, you belong here. You belong at DC or you belong at Marvel. That's the biggest compliment you want to hear from a reader who buys your stuff as an indie creator. Because then that
Basically saying you should have as many eyes as you can looking
yes,
at your stuff. And
yes,
I mean, like, look at this art. Like, look at that facial expression
yeah.
that he's got going on.
Second example is Aquaman.
Yeah,
Kyle's
Aquaman.
one of Kyle's favorite books, Aquaman by Jeremy
Eh,
Adams and Tim's. The guy's name,
Yeah.
I don't know his first name.
Let me see. I'm pulling it up right now.
But I mean, look at this. I mean, a cool cover,
John Timms.
John Timms. Cool cover, great art. I mean, I love the turtle. I love the outfit. I love the not the outfit, the I guess the armor around this giant sea turtle, and then of
Yeah,
course
war
all the
armor,
other
I guess.
what's that?
War armor.
Yeah, there you go, war armor. And then I mean, he showed me this page, and I was like, wow, this is actually really good. You're right. This is great. Look at this. Look at this freaking page, the splash page here. And you read this? Have you read this yet? Kyle?
Yeah, I read the story.
So,
Yeah, and
so it's not just great artwork with the subpar story, right? It's like both high quality story, a high quality, well written story, and high quality art, right?
yeah, it's good, and the storyline basically, Atlantis and all the Atlanteans have just basically vanished, and so out of thin air, the only clue that Aquaman has is that there's an Omega symbol, that's dark side symbol, where
Ah,
Atlantis was, and so he's out searching for his lost city. And in this story, we also come to find out that he's been training with Mara, his wife, to learn how to control water like she does. So basically, be a water bender. And in this issue, we find out he can also blood bend
ah.
and control the water within the blood. And so, literally, rides a wave of blood onto this enemy.
Of course, I love our chat.
Yeah.
But again, when Kyle showed me this, I was like, you know what, dude, you're right. This is really good. And I also love the fact that Jeremy Adams added a layer to Aquaman's powers, which, in my opinion, is about time. Honestly, like,
Yeah.
because Aquaman, to me, Aquaman has always been a C-list character for me. It's just for me,
Yeah.
okay. However, when I saw the movie, it changed my mind about the character when I watched the Jason Momoa movie. And James Wan, the director of that film, really did a great job convincing me that, hey, you know what, man, Aquaman can be a cool character. And not just because of Jason Momoa portraying him. It's just the story was pretty cool. And so I thought, you know what, if they maybe put this in the books, I think I would dig it. And
Yeah.
I like this just as much. The fact that he's able now to, I guess, for lack of a better term, until Jeremy Adams comes up with one here, he blood bends. I mean, it makes sense. He's a water creature. He's a water, hero. He should be able to do that. So
Well,
I
and
like that.
just and just that small change of allowing him to actually like be able to control and bend water basically puts him able to be used in so many more stories, because
Yeah,
most people
I
were
agree. I
always
agree.
relegating him to, okay, well, we gotta fight in the ocean, bring out the ocean guy,
Yeah.
and he's gonna be in here.
or he
And
just
so
or
it's
he
like,
just like talks to the fish. That's it.
yeah, but like now, if he's out with the other Justice League, and they're out in the city or something like that, and there's like a fountain or something like that in the city, which would be plausible, he can at least water bend
Yeah,
and do stuff like that to make him a little bit more unique amongst everybody.
absolutely.
So I think this is going to be fantastic, and I can't wait to see what else
And
happens.
and you recommend this, right, to the people listening and also the people who may watch the replay?
Oh yeah, yeah. All the books here on this list are recommend. So I guess this is like a super duper. Is it worth the pickup?
Yeah, yeah, and to hit it home, again, like to remind you, everyone here, and also the people who may be lurkers who maybe check out the show every once in a while, we're all about just finding the good stuff and sharing it. Because there's lots of other channels out there who just like to crap on everything. And again, I have no problem with that. No
Yeah.
personal problem with that. I sometimes like it, to be honest with you. I sometimes I'm okay with people crapping on things because a lot of the times, yeah, things aren't worth being good, right? Things that are not good should be called out, especially when you pay money for it. If you pay good money for something and you watch it or read it and you realize, what the hell is this, dude? You just spent your money on something that's not even worth your money. So you have every right to, crap on it if if you don't feel like, if you want to vent from after spending your money on like something that's not even worth it.
Yeah.
So
Couple ones in the chat there. Yeah.
I
You
would
say
love to
this.
see
Go ahead.
Batman bring in Aquaman to a crime scene to question the goldfish who witnessed the Oh, hey, dude!
You
Hell
say that
yeah!
ironically, but I kind of want to see that.
Yeah, me too. Me too, actually.
That would be so funny. Like it's like an aquarium, like that the crime happened,
Yeah, dude.
and then like
Oh, man, you just gave the $1 million idea for free. That
I
would be
know, literally.
great, dude. That would be great. What comic is this? Are you referring to the Aquaman comic? Fizz Chozo. Yeah, it's Aquaman issue 2, right? Is this
Issue
issue 2?
2. This is issue 2,
Yeah,
so it's
issue 2.
still beginning. Yeah, so you can still. I'm
Yeah.
sure you can still find issue 1 on shelves at the shop. But yeah, this is
This is
Aquaman by Jeremy Adams.
this is the all-in lineup from DC Comics. And I'll say this, so far DC has been impressing me with their books. Not so much Marvel. I picked up a few Marvel books here and there, and they're kind of like meh, whatever. But so far, like for instance, the Lobo one shot, great, fantastic
Yeah.
book, worth it. If you guys can't find that issue, try to find it because it was just a one shot. So I'm pretty sure those went off the shelves because Kyle Holtz um, drew that book, and his artwork was fantastic in that issue. But now this here has impressed me, especially. Oh, dude, Ben. Speaking of which, New
Yeah.
Gods.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Dude, New Gods is like, I went back to pick up issue 1 and 2 because someone on Twitter that I follow that I actually like their takes on because they're always on the money. I went to go get it thinking like, okay, maybe it's not that big of a book, and dude, sold out
Everywhere. I've been
everywhere.
trying to find it. Literally everywhere every shop that I go, I'm trying to find it, and it's all sold out every single time.
And we went for issue 3 this past Wednesday, and it also sold out.
Yeah.
And we're like, dang, man.
We were looking. That was one too that we were looking at the previews of, and we're like, oh man,
Yeah.
I have to get this book.
Yeah, exactly. And same thing for issue 1 and 2, because when the guy I forget I think his name is Ty. It's on X. And he posted a few pictures of the interiors, and I was like, dude, this looks amazing. I actually want this book. I actually want to check this out and read it. And of course, I can't find it anywhere. So yeah, New Gods, from what I hear, Ben, and from what I've seen personally, is also a top-notch book. Yeah, dude, Crenshaw, you should, dude. Kyle swears by him, and so far he's been impressing me too. I'm starting to jump on that bandwagon, that Jeremy Adams bandwagon.
And he's been impressing DC because it just came out that Jeremy Adams signed an exclusive deal with DC to do more books for them. So, and we were talking about that before the show that DC and Marvel don't really do exclusive contracts really anymore. So they must be they're putting a lot of faith in him, and he must be showing some numbers that actually are causing them to want to like keep him. And it's a little bittersweet though, because I do like him working on the Flash Gordon series that he's been working on, but that's Mad Cave.
Right.
So, but I do love all of his other stuff because he's been working on Green Lantern and now this Aquaman. So it's like, I like it that he's getting more work, but I do like the Flash Gordon. But then Zatanna
now, man. Again, Kyle showed me a preview of this book, And like I said in the beginning, at first I was like, okay, yeah, whatever, the art's pretty good. And I kept looking more and looking, and finally I was like, dude, I have to get this book. I have to get it. This looks great. And I was not disappointed. I was a little worried, right? Because I got
Yeah.
the issue, and I thought, okay, if the story is not good, at least I can enjoy the art because the art looks
Right.
fantastic. I read the issue earlier today. Mwah, chef's kiss, perfect. And I'm not a Zatanna fan either. It's again, she's a C character. Like it's nice to have around in the background or as a supporting character in another book.
Yeah.
But
Basically, like Aquaman's like, okay, we gotta fight some
pretty
witches.
much,
Bring out the witch girl.
yeah, pretty much, yeah, exactly. This one, however, strong start, a great start, and it got me invested right away. And the writer again is Jamal Campbell. He wrote and drew the book. So again, that's no easy feat. It's very, very difficult to do both. And in this guy, I know delivered. He delivered 100% on this one.
Yeah, I mean,
He said,
go ahead.
Fitzjoseph said, I remember I tried talking about a good comic, Man Goat and Bunny Man, on my old channel, but nobody cared to watch it. I come to find whenever you approach things in the way that Kyle and I have approached it, is that you just got to be consistent with it. But at the same time, you really have to, I guess, for lack of a better term, is to be real about it. Because there's some books that we reviewed and we're like, this isn't very good. And a whole bunch of people love it, right? Because Kyle comes from a consumer point of view. I come from a point of view of writer and editor. So I always break down the fundamentals while Kyle just breaks down the overall story. And so far, have we ever disagreed? No, we haven't yet, have we? Of a book that we reviewed?
Of like a book that we reviewed?
Where you liked it and you thought it was good, but I was like, no, this is not worth it for me. No, I don't think so,
we
huh?
have. I feel like we have. I just can't think of it.
And for the record, he didn't recommend Reset Protocol. So just
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, like, we've disagreed. I mean, I was thinking about new books that we've done. Yeah, I think we've agreed most of the time. Whether it could be like agreed that it was bad or agreed that it was good.
Right.
But I don't know if we ever disagreed. We gotta find one of those. That'd be good though.
Yeah, I gotta splice it and put it up. But I mean, look at this, guys. This 2-page spread.
I know, and you just keep zooming in.
Yeah,
and there's like a lot of stuff.
You're not bogged down by the writing, which I was afraid of. It's the perfect amount of writing and the perfect amount of art, and it's a perfect matrimonial. He found his balance. This Jamal Campbell, right? Is that his name?
Jamal Campbell, yeah.
Yeah, Jamal Campbell. A perfect combination, a perfect balance of the two. And again, that's not easy to do. And the fact, and obviously he's at this level, so he knows what he's doing. And from what Kyle has researched, he did mainly covers for a lot of years.
Pretty much just
and
covers.
he did a backup. I think he did a backup, right? A backup story.
Yeah, he did a couple backup stories.
So that was probably his trial run to see if he could, come up with something interesting. And they gave him a book, and he freaking delivered, dude. Like, this is, for me, a precursor to greater things to come from this artist. I wouldn't be surprised if a year or two from now he's drawing either a Batman book or a Superman book.
Yeah,
because of how like good he is. I mean, look at this; it's flawless. This whole thing, you could easy to follow. He doesn't give you too much; he gives you just enough to want to keep you reading. And yeah, it's and then you have these 1, 2, 3, these last 4 panels here to the corner, so that way you don't take away from this here, all this here, which was great.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Edwin? Good to have you. And then this was great, dude. Did you read this, Kyle? Have you read this?
No, see, that's the thing. Is like I haven't had a chance to read it yet. But
okay, well, I'm not gonna tell you. I'm not gonna tell you what's happening here. But I thought this was great, dude. When I got here, when I was reading it, and I got to this point, I was like, "Oh man, this guy This guy has it. He's the it factor here. Because I'm not, like I said, I'm not gonna spoil it for you or anybody here, but this was fantastic when I got here.
Oh, I just like because I was flipping through the pages and I was trying to find some cool pages to put for the this sort of preview that we're talking about,
Yeah,
and it's like pretty much every page was been like, well, that's a cool one. Well, that's
yeah.
a cool one. So I just picked one that was like, all right, well, this one's the coolest one that I could think of like it looks the most dynamic and like interesting, and so I'm like, yeah, I'll use
But
this
the
one.
great
But
thing about this splash page is there's a reason behind it. It's integrated with the story, with the plot.
I see. Okay.
So it's not just a pretty picture. It's just like, look at me, guys. I could draw. Look how cool I could draw. It's because it's inherent with the story, and that's what made it work for me. And I actually laughed. I was like, oh, this is really cool. I'm digging this. I'm digging this. And again, it's something that I think a lot of the tide being turning, right? It's like, wow, I can't believe it. They actually did a great job hiring the right people to produce these books. So kudos to DC Comics for that. And the last one is Aliens versus Avengers. And like I told you guys in the beginning, you need to pick this book up. It's one of the best pieces of work that Hickman and Rybick, I'm going to say that's how you pronounce it.
Ribic? Yeah,
Ribick
Ribic.
have done together, because I know they worked together in a few Marvel projects in the past, but this one here, man, is like, it captures everything that Aliens is supposed to be, and that is just nothing but dread. Because
Yeah.
that was one of the most effective things about the Aliens movies, especially 1 and 2. 3 not so much because I didn't really like it, but it still had the same sense of dread, and that's what it was. You always have this sense of dread with the Aliens movies, because this killing machine, the xenomorph, just that's all it knows how to do, is just destroy and kill. And as you watch the movies, you have this dread of like, they're never going to kill this damn monster. Like, it's over for them, And it not only does it look awesome, Justin, it is awesome. It really
Yeah.
is a great book. It's well written, well paced, well drawn. I mean, it's like the total package, dude. And it's a little pricier than the other books out there.
And it's bi-monthly.
It's bi-monthly, and it's $8 too, right? It's $8.
It's 8. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 8. So it's
But
$8.
it's I think it's more it's thicker pages or more pages though.
It's more pages for sure, but it's still
Yeah.
pretty pricey. It's $8, But this issue here, he only shared a page, but
Yeah, I
was
was kind of running out of space of the ones to send, so
oh, no worries, no worries.
yeah.
Again, superbly written. Wolverine shows up in this issue. So does Emma Frost. They show up in this issue, and also Sinister, Mr. Sinister comes out, and it's he's pretty good. John, I like the way Jonathan Hickman wrote him in this issue. It's pretty funny. But again, like every issue, it's this sense of dread that Jonathan Hickman captures with having this crossover, and I'm glad that the editorial of Marvel said yes to this pitch, because I think it's Jonathan Hickman's best work, honestly. And I know
It's
people
really good.
I know people like to say Krakoa, his X-Men run was his best, or even his not Secret Wars. What was that called? The one with the Shield?
Yes.
It's the one he did with I think Bendis. Well, that, and also the Fishoso, thank you for coming by, man. Hopefully we see you in the next one. But also his other work, Shield, is just like this like monumental piece of work where he uses the Renaissance characters, I guess, to kind of give like this esoteric history of the Marvel universe using Renaissance characters, which I thought was pretty cool. I would say this one's probably his best one, in my opinion. I know there's some probably disagreeing with me, but that's okay.
Well, he's also, working on the, Ultimate Spider-Man and stuff too.
Yeah, but I heard that wasn't that very good though. I heard it's not that great. And also the Wolverine book he did with Greg Capullo is also not very good.
Yeah, but at
In
least
fact,
this
that
he's doing good.
well, that maybe because this one his heart is into it, and that's why it's working
Yeah.
out. And I don't know what the deal is with Ultimate Spider-Man or the Wolverine book he did with Greg Capullo. From the people who read those books, you for Ultimate Spider-Man, and then Ray from 656, shout out Ray to 656. He told me, dude, that it's crap, like it's absolute crap, and he doesn't understand how he could read both the Wolverine book and this one and say, how is it that he's like shining bright with this one, but not for
Yeah.
Wolverine? Like it doesn't make any sense to me. And I think it's safe to say it's because his heart's not in it. Maybe he's
Yeah.
just like, oh, okay, it's a gig. All right, I'll write whatever. I'll write it, whatever. And this one, it was like, oh no, I'm going to give my all for this one, and it shows. It shows big time.
Yeah. I know, and it just and this is issue number 3. The first 2 issues, especially issue number 1 will get you hooked immediately into this world. And so I definitely, yeah, this is all these issues that we talked about, and this is what, that's what caused us to, talk about this, is that
Yeah.
there's a lot, all these issues and all these books, they're starting to like really shine and really make us notice when stuff is good, because it's very easy for everybody to just say, yeah, this book was bad, that book was bad, this book was bad. It's something, it's like, oh yeah, this is like legitimately good, you need to go and get it, and this is something I'm excited to
Yeah.
go and read and pick
Right.
back up, like the Turtles book. It's like on my top of my list now of what I want to read. And so things like that, it's like I didn't think that was going to happen, because especially with IDW, with all of their bankruptcy
Right.
almost, and
Yeah.
then like rebranding and all this stuff, it was kind of shaky there for a little bit. But hopefully with this, they're able to like really launch this new Turtles, and hopefully keep Juan Fiera part of it.
Yeah. Crenshaw says, speaking of Wolverine, excited for Daniel Warren Johnson's Wolverine book. Dude, I saw the teaser on his Twitter account and I was like, dude, I think I might have to pick up that Wolverine book.
Yeah, see,
It's gonna be
it just seems like
yeah,
more and more
it's starting to like
issues.
come up, right? It's starting to do yeah, see now even Ben's like, what? DWJ is doing a Wolverine book? That's awesome. See? And there you go. It just
Yeah,
keeps on coming.
more people talking about it.
And
So
and before we go on to is it worth the pickup, before we end this segment, I just want to give my final thoughts on this whole thing. I mentioned to you, Kyle, earlier this week about the movie that I saw, the High Fidelity movie with John Cusack and um, what's his face, the other guy, the other. Wow, my brain just had a brain fart. Um, oh gosh, Jack Black.
Jack Black. Okay.
And remember, I told you about that scene, how Jack Black's character is that record, nerd
Oh yeah. Yes.
who one scene he's berating someone who asked for a Britney Spears album and he ran him off, tell him and insulted him. But then later on in the movie, has this customer who's eager to like learn about records, and he's like recommending him all these records, for him to buy. And so they got me thinking about how we can get fresh readers or new readers into the comic shops. And I realized that all of us, and what I mean by all of us, I'm talking about people like myself, Crenshaw, Ben in the chat, Dionysius, people who, you're getting there, but you're still fairly new. But I'm talking about people who read comics for a long time. I've been reading comics since I was 13. And I'm in my 40s now. Full disclosure, I'm not gonna give you exactly my date, my age, but I'm in my 40s now. But I've been reading
man.
Yeah, old man Julius. I've been reading comics since 13 up until now. So there's all those years of reading all the great comics, good comics, bad comics, average comics. Knowing the industry, wanting to be part of the industry, even going so far as to produce my own books. It's going to be up to us, the veterans, to be that Jack Black character in the movie High Fidelity. And when someone like Kyle, for instance, like when I first found out that he was reading comic books, my inner nerd was like, I'm gonna recommend this book to you, this, and I did little by little. I started to like tell him like, oh no, dude, check this book out. No, you don't want to get that one. Get this one, or try this one out.
Read Miracle Man.
Read Miracle Man, exactly. And then also when I would tell him, hey, pick up some of those 90s books just for the heck of it and compare it to the books today. And you tell me which one fares better. The $1 book that used to cost $1 or the $5 book today. And then you came back like, oh yeah, dude, the books in the 90s, like they don't compare to the books today. You know, because I'm sure you noticed how they compressed a whole plot A, plot B into 122 or 32 page, however long they were back then, issue flawlessly, right? It didn't feel like, you know, you were reading a condensed book of any kind. It read smoothly. It was an experience. And so now you are fully immersed in our thing. You know, you became one of us.
One of us.
Well, yeah, exactly. Google gobble. That's the dementia talking raps. Oh, I think he's referring to Dionysius saying that he turns 27 next month.
There you
go. So yeah, I would recommend all of my comic book brethren out there who are watching live, who will watch this replay. You know, if you know someone who's looking for something cool, something unique, or comic book, take them to the shop, dude. Show them around and tell them, what do you like? Do you like Superman? Do you like Batman? Do you like this? Or do you like crime? Do you like fantasy, sci-fi fantasy? Well, here, check out this Conan book, or here, check out this this sci-fi comic book that I think you would like.
Yeah.
And that's Flash how you Gordon. There you go, Flash Gordon. And that's how we can get that's how we can cultivate the culture again. Mm-hmm. And instead of focusing on like, oh, that's crap, don't read this, don't read that, go, no, well, yeah, that's crap, but you know what, check this one out here, check this one out here.
Well, what am I supposed to read?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's how we could quell the downward spiral that the comic book industry has been going down, because a lot of the old generation, a lot of the old readers who used to love coming to the shops every Wednesday, they're gone. A lot of them are gone. They're not coming back. And they might come back now because the crossover, the DC Marvel crossover. So they might be, oh, okay, that's cool. It's been 5 years since my last comic book. You know, I'll go check it out. But for the new readers, the 20-something-year-olds, the TikTokers, you got to find something that will connect with them. And I think that's going to be our advantage. The indie people. I'm talking about the indie people. Mm-hmm. Dude, I think that's what we should call it. We should call it Adopt Nerd.
Adopt a Nerd.
Remember, if you're hungry for good stories, you're hungry for good stories. Yep.
Have Sarah McLachlan like play a song. I will remember.
And that's what this channel is all about. We want to share our enthusiasm. We want to, of course, not everything is great, and there's a lot of crap out there, and we are going to call it out when it comes to our doorstep, right? If I buy a book and I read it and then go, dude, this was crap, Kyle, like, look, check this out, bro. and you read it and you're like, oh yeah, you're right, this is crap, and then we could talk about it on the show,
right?
And feelings be damned for the creators, because when you're at a certain level, you got to know what you're doing at a certain point if you've been doing it for a while. And so that includes me. I have no excuses for that. So I should be also called out just the same as anyone else who puts out any books out there, which is why I always push you guys to come on the show. Tell me what you think. What'd you think of Reset Protocol? What'd you think of Vigilant Fury, and so on and so forth?
It was bad.
Why was it bad?
Yes.
So I just wanted to, get that, off my chest and let people know, and especially the veterans, like, don't be afraid to be like, here, check this out, and you let me know what you think. You tell me if it's worth going back to the shop every month for. Yeah. And I think we're heading there. I think we're heading back there again. I think it's safe to say that we are.
If hopefully it continues. Hopefully this isn't just like a brief, above the,
Yeah,
above the, sinking,
yeah,
level.
exactly.
It's just a breath of fresh air, and then just go back to drowning again.
Yeah, right.
Hopefully
Yeah,
we're getting out. We're getting better.
I think I speculated with Kyle earlier this week too that I have a feeling that when James Gunn got the job to run DCEU for Warner Media, I have a feeling, and I'm speculating here. Okay, well, I'm not saying this happened. He probably had a meeting with Jim Lee, who is currently the president of DC Comics, and his VPs, and probably laid out his plan and told them, hey, look, guys, here's my plan for the movies. But if we want people to watch these movies, the books have to be at a higher quality than what they are now.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened. I think that caused the tide to turn for DC Comics. I can't speak for Marvel. I don't know about Marvel because Marvel, like I said, has been kind of like, whatever.
A little hit or miss.
Yeah, but DC definitely has turned around. They've been turning around
Yeah.
and they've been delivering on some good stuff. And I'm really looking forward to the future for DC Comics.
Yeah. So here's hoping,
Here's hoping. So yeah, with that said, it's time for another edition of
Oh.
All right, Kyle, take it away.
All right. Well, so first, a little bit of an update on that as well. The book that we're going to be reviewing right now is Rome Eternal #2. We had mentioned a couple weeks ago before we took our break that we were going to do issues 2 and 3.
Right.
However, because of this diamond kind of, going away, kind of messed up some of the scheduling for the
Yeah,
books.
yeah, for sure. I was disappointed. I really was because I
Yeah.
was looking forward to reading issue 3. I was excited for it, but we'll talk more as to why I was excited about it. So go on, Kyle.
Yeah, so basically, issue 3 is going to be released to be determined. We don't know exactly when it's going to be coming.
Yeah,
So
it's late.
for right now, we'll just do issue 2, and then whenever issue 3 comes, we'll do that. But for issue #2, now remember, this is a story that an indie book from Magma Comics that we did the review on for issue 1. We thought that it was definitely worth a pickup because it had a very interesting concept, lots of really great art in it,
Mm-hmm.
and even though the dialogue was a little interesting to say the least, with the
Yeah.
choices that was made, it was
Mm-hmm.
still entertaining enough to where we had to go and pick up issue 2. And issue 2, I would say, continues the trend of issue 1, where it's very good art, interesting story, dialogue still a little, interesting, but definitely makes you also want to pick up issue 3. So let's get into it.
And
Um,
let me just say that the cover at first was kind of like, whatever. But after reading the issue, I was like, oh, damn. Okay, now this cover hits different.
yes. So this one is like where once you've read the story, then that cover will make sense, and it's like, oh, that's a big thing that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So this was written by Homero. I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Homero.
Homero Rios, by art by Diego Yapur. It's the same writer and artist. And so this issue is one of those issues where I will say that the layout of this issue was a little bit tricky, because this is one of those issues where they did a lot of the time jumps,
Yeah.
where you would see that in like movies and TV shows where it's done a little bit easier, where it'd be all like, it starts off with the what happens, like 24 hours later, and then it
Right.
shows you
Yeah.
the devastating of what happened, and then it cuts back to, okay, 24 hours earlier, and then it starts you off with that way, and then 6 hours before that, and it kind of jumps around. So with this issue, it did that. I don't think it did it quite that well. It was passable. I could follow it, but it was a little at times confusing of what was actually happening. Um Basically what happens was at first I thought that this was sort of like a alternate reality like scenario type of thing, but no, apparently we just get start off the bat with all those characters that we met in the first issue are basically all dead.
Done. They're
Gone.
done.
Just kills them all off.
Yep. Every
So
single one of them. That whole first issue, that whole setup, gone in this one. In the first few pages of the book of the issue.
the first two issues of this issue,
Very
everybody
bold.
everybody except for this character and then the other main character that we saw, who was who
Why
was
is this not
holding
working for me?
the other
Dang
one.
it.
Is it not letting you like?
Yeah, now let me scroll
Scroll?
up. There
Oh,
you go. This guy here.
this
The
that
one
character,
from the first issue who was tied up, who was using that mind reading machine, who was trapped there.
and who is the son of the guy that was killed
Right.
from the first issue that has the connection with the emperor's I guess general.
Yeah, see here it is, 12 hours earlier. So that now
Yeah.
we're doing the jump cuts to earlier times.
So in this issue, we get they came back from their mission. They're getting their debriefing from their cult leader. And he sets them off on their next mission, which would be to basically eradicate the emperor.
Yeah.
And so they're strategizing how to get rid of the emperor. Um, this issue also, there was another technical issue that you didn't really have a problem with it. I had a little bit of a problem with it. We had this connection between the main character. I'm sorry we don't have their names. We're just gonna just go by that
Yeah,
character
I
in this
know, I
order.
know. It's a shame on us for not remembering their names. So
Anyway,
our bad for that.
it's split in between the investigation of the murder that was happening in the
Oh yeah,
last
these are the
issue.
investigators, right?
And so the way that it did for me, it didn't make any sense having them split like that. They could have just had that as its own page and finished up the storyline between the lovers, I guess I'll call them.
Oh right.
And then it cuts to them looking at the empire doing an investigation of the crime scene.
And here's the antagonist. Here is the guy who the emperor in the previous issue hired to capture
He's
the
like the
terrorist
chief
group.
general.
Yeah.
So he's investigating who these people are that attacked them and got all the information. And that was the main reason why they got that information so they can get the plans for the emperor's throne room area, I guess the main temple, so that they can go and break in and take out the emperor. And so we get more of their investigate, them going, say, another like 3 hours earlier. So
Yeah.
it cuts more to them being in the sewer, going to the to kill the emperor. Meanwhile, we have the blue guy. He's the, I guess, lead. He's like the guy in the chair. He's directing them. He's like tied into the cameras and stuff, so he's letting them know what's happening. And so the rest of most of the issue is them just going through and then realizing that it's basically all a trap. They get in position and they realize, okay, something's not right. Things aren't. It's a little too easy.
It's a little too
basically.
quiet.
A little too quiet. No movement, and it looks like, this isn't gonna, it's a little too quiet. And then, right as they get up to the threshold, boom, dead. That was the Batman-esque type character.
A great panel, by the way. I'll say, fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, as we say, the art is great through this issue. And basically, as we find out that this was just a whole big ambush, like Admiral Akbar, it's a trap.
Yeah, right.
And every one of them, it shows them, each one of them getting killed. Now, this part here, too, I didn't like the look of these tanks. They look too modern and not
Mm.
Roman E.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, Romany.
Romany. They're not Romany enough.
Yeah, I can see that. They look like Jeeps, actually, like a
Yeah.
mixture of the Jeeps and the tank.
I liked what they did in the first issue with the chariots being like
Yeah,
the flying
they probably
things.
should have kept with that aesthetic, huh?
Yeah.
That would have been a lot more appealing, I think, if they kept the aesthetic of the chariots, but a tank. That would
Yeah.
have been cool. That would have been pretty cool.
Or maybe like have it, or maybe even make it look like the shield
Damn, look at
formation.
that, dude.
Yeah, well, make it.
Oh
Here's an
man.
idea. Here's an idea. Make it look like the shield formation that the Romans did when they locked all their shields together,
Oh yeah,
and
that would have been cool.
have that be like the armor of the tank, and it just be like the locked in
Ah,
shields.
yeah.
And you can have the
Oh,
treads
that
underneath.
because they would have the shields and the spears out, right?
Yeah, either have spears or just do the tank cannons. You can mix it with the tank cannons and the treads, but
I
the
was thinking
armor.
because I was thinking like instead of like the armor trucks that we have today with just the one barrel, right? That kind of spins
Yeah,
around. It'd be kind
yeah,
of cool if it was like you said, the shields, but then
yeah.
the gun, instead of spinning around, the gun would just go in and then go out the other side, like
Oh, I see what you're
that
saying.
would be
Yeah,
good. They shoot like that, and the back shoot and do the whole
that
spiel.
would be cool. But yeah, have like the armor be the shields,
Yeah.
all
Oh
kind of
yeah, that would be cool. That
connected.
all fully totally mechanized too.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would have been great. That would have been a great
yeah.
visual.
So that's what I would say. Yeah, that's what, just to make it a little bit more. I mean, it's a fantasy thing, and use this idea to your advantage, and they do for the most part. It's
Yeah,
just things like this that's like, could be improved upon. Phalanx formation, is that what it? I think, yeah, I guess that's what it's called. That
yeah,
formation of the shields of all locking together. It's cool, and I want to. That's why I want to see that. Um, yeah, more action shots of them, and then we get another like 2 hours earlier. So
yeah.
it's like it intersplices and cuts a lot. And this scenario, this is a side story that was put in for the investigators, to find out who was the one who, I guess, leaked this information.
Right.
And so we get interspliced with the investigation with the
Yeah, right here.
betrayal.
This is where it got. Yeah, this is where it confused Kyle a bit, guys.
Yeah,
I didn't mind
because
it because I was able to kind of follow it because I was like, okay, he's going back and forth to what's going on, and it worked for me. But I could see how it would cause confusion and take you out of the story because that's the main rule you never want to break as a creator. You never want to take the reader out of the experience because once you do that, then you lost them. You always want to keep them in until they finish the book. And so I dug it. I thought it was a bold choice. This whole issue was a bold choice, in my opinion.
yes, just I mean, yeah, just starting off and killing everybody. That's a huge
Yeah,
choice.
yeah, huge. And at first I hated it. Like I was pissed because it's almost like, dude, you took away the coolest thing about this book. Like I wanted to see more of these characters. I wanted to see what they were capable of. You took me to this journey of them being initiated into this mystery cult and
Yeah,
how like they're like the
they're
top of the
becoming a
top.
team.
Yeah, they're assassins, and not only are they just assassins, but they're capable assassins. They're like very competent. They're able to infiltrate a system that, for all intents and purposes, the Roman government of this world at this time thought that they were invincible and thought it wouldn't ever happen, and it did. And so I was curious to see what the journey with these characters, but the fact that that Homero just totally like took him
I
away.
know, just gut them all.
Yeah, and again, at first I was like, but then when I got to the end, I was like, okay, well, damn, you actually got me interested again. I can't like that's great. That's very hard to do in this day and age.
Yeah, because there is a big twist at the end. Crenshaw's saying, yeah, with the different version of the tank being an ornate lion's mouth with a tank
Yeah,
barrel in it.
dude. Yeah.
That would have
Like,
been cool too.
yeah, I get it. You know, creative choices are creative choices. Some people just perhaps just want to go ahead and just produce it because the aesthetic's still great looking. But you're right, Kyle. I agree with you there. It should have been done a little bit more because then it would have popped a lot more for me if they had done that.
Yeah.
Oh wait, go on.
Anyway, then we get the death of the Ares big tank guy. At least he gets a little bit cool. He gets to take out a tank, but I didn't like that they didn't really show him like getting hurt. Like he goes and he takes out the tank, and
No, they do show him get hurt. It was right. It was right. Where is it at? Right there.
oh, okay.
Right
So
there.
okay, you got exploded.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
However, I can see the confusion. Again, this is a editorial. This is the fault of the editor of this book because he doesn't look hurt here.
No, I would hope that if he's got an explosion behind him, maybe show him like burned on the back
Yeah, the
or
back
something
should have
like
been
that.
seared. Like he should have been like smoke should have been coming out from his back. And if you really wanted to hit it home, maybe you could have shown him like blood spilling out from his mouth, like just
Yeah,
coming out. Then it would have the effect. But here he doesn't look hurt. You're right. It would, at first glance too, I was like, wait, did he? I don't remember seeing him get hurt. But then I had to go back, and when I saw that panel, I was like, oh, okay, got it. So his explosion blew up behind them. However, again, consistency is also key here in terms of story sequentials. You got to let the reader know like the effects of the explosion because it's not really a big deal here. It's kind of
yeah. Kind of like it just kind of seems like, oh yeah, it's an explosion in the background for
yeah. Seeing
effect.
two characters get hit here,
Yeah, I mean, he
and
gets his whole legs and everything blown off.
yeah, and so maybe if they, I think if it were me, if I was the editor of this book, I probably would have told the artist, hey, how about you cut this panel in two, and instead of the wide, have a close up of this guy getting it, boom, and have a close up of this guy getting it, boom. So that
Yeah,
way the reader knows, okay, two more guys got hurt. And then when we get here, it's immediate. It's like, oh yeah, this guy's gonna die,
right. And
And
this is
then
his last ditch effort.
this would have been a lot more effective.
Yeah, I would have because it's
Because
like his last ditch
even
effort.
though he was dying, even though his back and look, his back is completely intact.
Yeah,
So if they would
I,
have drawn this back here just full of blood, black, freaking like third-degree burns, that would
mhm.
have been nice. And then seeing this, again, great shot. However, it would have been more effective if maybe the artist drew the hammer at the end point of the swing and this tank probably a little smaller, but showing the motion lines
Carnage.
of it,
Yeah,
yeah, of it spinning a whole bunch of times because of the hit.
yeah.
That would have been more effective. That would have been a lot more impactful for this character's death or this glorious death, as they would call it.
And
But again, those are my
to
two
add
cents.
to that, yeah, and to add to that, I would have liked to also maybe have it be where like this is his last ditch effort to like break the line of tanks so that
Yeah,
they at least one of them can, because it seems like that's what they were going for, is that like, okay, this is his last ditch. He's gonna break the line of tanks so that they can go through and move on into the
right.
actual temple. But it doesn't really come off that way. I would have liked a little bit more emphasis on like, okay, he is literally breaking the line that's holding them off from getting closer to the emperor and
Yeah, so
completing their mission.
maybe yeah, this could have been where it was a domino effect where this like I said, keep the same image that I described, the end of the swing, keep the thunk, right? The thunk SFX that's on the left hand side of the panel there.
Yeah.
And then maybe the artist could have drawn a few of the other tanks being knocked down because of this hit right here.
Yeah.
But it's always got to be the end factor of the action. That's how you showcase really good action in comics. You always want to show either the beginning, the end of every swing or hit. Or if you do an impact shot, you got to make sure you draw like, this, and
kind of like what we showed with the turtles, with Leo
exactly.
punching him with it, like all
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
teeth and everything coming off him.
That could have been great. Oh, hey, you're back. Welcome back.
All right.
We're reviewing.
You're in the middle of the review.
Yeah, we're reviewing Rome Eternal issue 2, and we just got done talking about why this panel is still great. I mean, the panel's still awesome. Just for the record, I don't want people to think that I'm bashing the panel. I'm just saying, the comic book medium is is what I call the medium of dynamic shots. What makes the comic book medium superior, in my opinion, to TV and cinema, even though I still like those mediums, is that you could put the camera anywhere and you could emphasize whatever you want with the with the art.
Yeah.
Places and things and shots that the camera cannot pick up because it's limited by the lens. I mean, not so much now because of the CGI, but with comics, you could do pretty much, you could go wherever draw and go wherever you want in terms of like the paneling. And I think if this shot would have been a lot more dynamic if it had what I described.
Yeah. And kind of like what we were talking about though, of emphasizing more story-wise as well, the impact that shot would have done.
Yeah, and then here we would have had him dying out, blood again, still going, more blood,
smoking,
Yeah, smoking, and then we get this.
Yeah.
Then it would have they're like, oh, dude, what a great death. Like, awesome,
At least you went out with a blaze of glory.
Exactly. And again, still effective. It's just not as effective as I think the writer and the artist maybe intended it to be. But again, I'm just speculating. I'm not sure exactly. So another one bites the dust here.
Yeah, well, those are the royal guards that he's shooting at.
Oh, okay. Oh, right on the money too, hitting his targets.
I know. So I like that. It's good. He's like a crack shot.
This is a great sequence. Crenshaw says maybe crushing the side of the tank, kind of wondering how his hammer got under the. Oh, good point, Crenshaw. Very good point.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about
that too. Yeah. Yeah. It's a cool shot, but like, yeah, there's things that could have been better with it.
And again, I know we're dissecting these panels, but don't take it as us bashing the book. It's just something that we noticed when reading the issue. But overall, the story's still good. But let's keep going.
Yeah. All right. So then we have them, getting closer to the Emperor's chambers. He's pinned down. His girlfriend comes in, gives him the last, guns that he needs, and they continue on. And then this is where we get Mr. Flamio guy, who helps break up this line formation. But the thing is, we don't see him dying in this issue. Like we see him dying at the beginning. We see what happens, but he doesn't really have like a final death scene. It's basically just them saying move forward, and then it's implied that he dies.
Well, if we saw in the beginning, then there's no use or need to repeat it here.
I guess that's true, but we also get that with all the other people too, and we get their
that's true.
As well.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So, it's just one of those things. I guess maybe it was part of the plan, but maybe got cut. And then
here we go 1 hour earlier again.
Yeah, then we get another time jump where this was one of the investigators, I guess the young investigator who's going and looking at all the files that's associated with these people, and he's looking at all the files and who's dedicated for all of them, and then makes a a shocking discovery and realizes that the files have a tracker in it and that he's being like
And he's
raided right now.
being killed.
Now, the facial expression for the guy, I did not like whatsoever.
No.
That was one that's like I was in the pose that he's in. Like he's like discovering something that we'll talk about the the twist at the end. He's discovering something that's like, oh man, this is life changing thing, and he's just kind of like, oh man, that's wow. It's
That's
like
fair. That's fair.
I was
Yeah.
like expecting him to be like, like right up to the screen, like,
Yeah, yeah,
oh
yeah. Like
my goodness,
right,
this is
right.
what's happening.
Yeah.
And it's like it just seemed like it's the wrong emotion that I was getting from him.
That's fair.
And so then
And yeah, he gets killed. He knows too much. So of course, when you know too much, you have to die.
Yeah.
And then we get to the end, which was the beginning.
Yeah, this is where we picked up from, or right before where we picked up from at the first page, where they're entering the Emperor's chambers to finally kill the Emperor.
And here's a shot from the first shot of the issue. And then they enter, and the Emperor's dead.
Yeah.
He's dead already.
He's already in his deathbed. And they're just as shocked as we are. And then as right after that, then we get the back shot.
And here's the another angle of the cover.
And then we get the the time jump back to beginning where it says now. And he's holding her in his arms. And then we finally get to see who it was that was the mastermind behind all of this. And none other than the general that was originally tasked by the Emperor to get rid of these insurgents. I guess he accomplished his goal. He got rid of the insurgents, but now he also got rid of the Emperor. And he is now probably going to be taken over as Emperor.
And there you have it, guys.
And there to be to continue.
Now, again, like I said earlier, I was pissed off that these characters were killed off.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see a whole lot of them. And 6 issues, I thought, okay, maybe he'll give us a whole cool issue of like backstory of how they got together and all that.
Yeah.
But no, we just got straight up just, off to the races. Let's just kill them all to
I know.
this issue. And at first, I was really disappointed. I really was. I was going to drop the book. I was like, okay, I'm not going to pick up the 3rd issue. I don't care anymore. Because these characters were the reason why I picked them up in the first place.
Yeah, because it looked cool. That was the first shot that we saw of them.
Yeah, when we got here, though, I was like, oh, damn, okay, you know what? Never mind. I'm picking up the 3rd issue. Because now I must know what the deal is here with this guy. And so, this got me excited again. I will give Homero Rios credit here of what he did. He did something that I think what's missing from most writers today, and that is taking me on a roller coaster ride when I read a comic book story.
Yeah.
At first, I was like, oh, like,
I know,
man.
That's how I felt too. It's like,
right?
But they're all dead?
Yeah, they're all dead already. I was like, oh, come on. And then he took us to the time jumps. I was like, okay, cool, I guess.
All right, well,
and then
we still know that they all die.
Yeah, and we got to see their glorious death, which is all right, cool. It's a cool action. There's some panels here that all right, but it's all right. He's at least giving us action. And then when we get here, right here, or rather here,
yeah,
it's like, oh, come on, man, what's going on? Like, what's going on now? What's
Everybody's
happening?
dead.
Yeah, like, who killed this guy? Who got to do it first? And then when we get here, it's like, oh, wait a minute, what the hell is he doing there? And how come they're not arresting them? And then,
this whole time,
and right back up.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm sold. Issue 3, here I come.
It does, though, make me a little bit mad that the first issue, then when we made the comment of like, where we were like double introduced to these characters. Like we had the introduction of them in the mission, and then we
Yeah.
also had the introduction of them like, "Hi, my name is so and so," and "Hi, my name
Right.
is so and so." I wish then we used that as instead of just them announcing who they are, more time to actually like get to know them and personally and have another like maybe another skirmish that they could have gone through to like at least give us a little bit more time with them so that
Mhm.
we care for them a little bit more so that when we do get to this issue then it's like, oh snap, when they're all
Right.
gone already.
Yeah.
um
Well, I have a feeling, again, this is one of those things where I don't want to, you know, let myself down when we get there. However, like I said, I really was impressed with Homero's choices here. Very bold,
yeah,
very what's the word I'm looking for? Um
risky.
Risky. Thank you, risky. However, I will say I'm really excited now for issue 3 because we have 4 more issues left,
Yeah,
and I'm wondering how is this going to end now. And you're
yeah,
right. I agree with you there. Maybe if this was 7 issues, maybe we could have had a second issue where we found out all the characters' backstories and got to know them a little bit more. So that when we got here, it's a lot more tragic, a lot more sad,
impactful, yeah.
impactful, and going, oh man, I was really rooting for these guys.
Yeah. Like, or
How
maybe like also learning more about his alternate persona as the leader
right,
of the thing, like getting a little bit more interactions with them of like, we trusted you. Like this is literally the stab in the back of
right,
like
right.
killing all of us and everything.
Oh,
So
right, yeah. But I mean, technically, he hasn't killed him yet.
no, but he killed everybody else.
He killed everybody else, but he hasn't killed this guy.
No.
So that's what made it
So
even more interesting. It's like, well, okay, are we gonna see like a straight up like he's gonna figure out a way how to take away that gun from him and have a fight and he escapes? Or
yeah.
are we gonna see like a straight up like no, he just shoots up in the head and he he moves on to, and
I
he moves
mean,
the
we don't
story
know.
on,
That's the thing, though. It's like it's we don't know what could happen. That could happen. He could just shoot him in the face, and then it just become a different
And
story.
I also would like to add how great of a cliffhanger this is. This is how you do a proper cliffhanger. Now I must know what's gonna happen next. So
Yeah,
kudos to Homero there. Again, like I said, I agree with you in terms of expanding the characters a bit. But I think he just has something else in the works for us that we have no clue now. And I like this kind of stuff. You know how I
yeah,
mentioned to you before that, like for instance, you're watching The Sopranos, right?
yeah,
Because for the record, just so you guys know, Kyle has never seen The Sopranos, and I
yes,
sang that show's praises. It's one of my favorite shows. I think it's the best show of all time for television. And so I told Kyle, like, you need to watch The Sopranos because it's quality television. Like, it's the best the television show of all time. It's the reason why we have the shows we have today that are so good, like Breaking Bad, Mad Men, and what other shows were pretty much like cultural staples at this point.
um,
Better Call Saul.
Better Call Saul,
Yeah, like
yeah,
you guys get the idea. I'd say it all started with Sopranos. Sopranos were the ones who set the bar high for quality television. And I warned Kyle, I said, look, dude, you're gonna think the show's gonna go in a certain direction.
yeah,
And then you're gonna see like they took it way over here. When you go, okay, it's gonna go over here, and then like boom, they trick you, and now it's going over here. And
yeah,
then when you finally get accustomed after the trauma of them turning it on you, and you go,
yeah.
okay, now I know where it's gonna go. It's gonna go here. Boom, they do it again,
Nah,
and
it's somewhere else.
and they do it
And then,
over and over again
or if
throughout
it's
the
a
sixth season.
character that to get introduced, and it's like, oh, it's a great character. I can't wait to see more of them. Ah, no, they're dead now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so, so I think Homero is gonna do the same thing here with this book. That's my prediction. I could be wrong, but I have a feeling that's what he's gonna do with this book, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And even though it has its editorial problems that I think should be rectified, I mean, again, no disrespect to the editors who are working on this book now, but they need to, they need to step up their game a bit, because
Yeah.
there's a few things that they could have just fixed that could have made this issue a lot more impactful.
Yeah.
You know?
And then also, kind of like what we mentioned too with the writing, it's still somewhat similar with the first issue where their talking isn't Romany enough. It's
Yeah,
a little
yeah,
too modern. So it kind of throws off what you're looking at a little bit.
a little bit, just a little bit,
Just a little bit. Just a
just a
little
little bit.
bit. But and just what we were talking about, like how some of the stuff could have been, I mean, this world that they've set up is very unique, and it does
Yes,
have a very certain style, and I wish that they just like really lean into it more with everything that they do, like the tanks, like the
right.
dialogue, like
Yeah,
really lean into the fact that this is Rome but futuristic technology type of thing, and go all in with it. It seems like they're a little hesitant to make it not too goofy, I guess.
oh,
But
right. Yeah.
I think it still works though very well.
Well, moment of truth, is issue 2 of Rome Eternal worth a pickup?
I'd say yes, it is
All
worth a
right.
pickup. And I would suggest, yeah, looking for issue 3 whenever it
Yeah.
comes out.
When it comes out, I don't know when. Crenshaw says more naked marble statues would do the book good.
Well, I mean, it'd be more Romany, so
That's true. That's true. Well, I will say this was a good issue. Very entertaining. The artwork obviously is still great. Even with the little editorial problems, it's still delivered, and it's one of the most unique books out there today. And
yeah.
we were speaking earlier about indie. Here we go. Here's an example of an indie book that can stand side to side with a Marvel or DC book, because Marvel and DC still have a few editorial hiccups here and there from time to time. Not as often as it should be, but they still do, because human beings are fallible, right? We
Yeah.
miss stuff sometimes, and it happens.
And most recent example that I can think of was the latest Green Lantern book.
Mhm.
Jeremy Adams did a nod to the Green Lantern animated series by putting in the
Mm.
issue the
Mhm.
ship that was from the animated series. Unfortunately, whoever was the editor and the artist maybe have not seen that series, and so basically drew the ship backwards whenever it was flying.
He drew the ship. No, just for the record, he drew the ship correctly.
He drew
He
it
just,
correctly, oriented it
yeah,
backwards.
yeah.
So
So
like,
whenever it flew, it was flying backwards.
yeah, just like kind of like just thinking of like, like say like the Millennium Falcon. If you've never seen the Millennium Falcon before, like having the the two prongs that would be the nose as like the engines.
Yeah, yeah. So that was just
So
a mishap that maybe the editor should have been like, "What is this ship? Like, is this like a new ship? Oh no, it's from the cartoon. Well, okay, we got to make sure it flies the right way. How does it fly? Because I never seen the show,
yeah,
whatever." And that's the unfortunate thing about the modern day of comics, is that back in the day, you had the writers who became editors for DC and Marvel after a while when they started to slow down, and they had encyclopedic knowledge of the lore. So they were
yeah,
able to keep a lot of the writers and artists in check by letting them know that, hey, no, that's not how it's drawn, or that's not the consistent with the story or the character or whatever. And that's why you had this like a mini golden age of lore, of how good lore was back in the 80s, the late 70s and 80s, during Jim Shooter's era. And again, say what you will about Jim Shooter, but he kept that ship tight, man. He made those Marvel comics fantastic during his tenure. Hopefully those come back soon, but you know, hey, it is what it is. Not everything's perfect.
yeah. But it's looking up though.
It is looking up, and I'm happy to hear that. I'm happy to see that, because I don't want this medium to go away. I don't want this to be a thing of the past, a relic of the past, because I still believe to this very day and until the day I die. This medium is the best in terms of
Yeah.
telling stories. It's provided a lot. Like today, for instance, I saw a post that someone, I think on X, posted Steve Scrose, who was the what do you call it, the storyboard artist for the Matrix, the original Matrix movie,
Oh, okay.
and he drew the like you seen the Matrix, right, Kyle?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so the scene with Neo dodging the bullets,
Yes.
you know, you know that camera, the whole scene, you know it by hand, right?
Yes. By
It
heart, you
starts off,
mean?
yeah, it starts off with the bullet going over his shoulder, and then it goes to the camera going around them.
Yeah, and he's just like, ooh.
Steve Scrose drew that in the storyboard.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna find it for you so I can share it, because I shared it, I reposted it because I wanted to, let people, I guess, I share my thoughts too on it.
Well, I mean,
Um,
like, yeah, there's storyboard artists all the time that work on movies to get the camera angles and things established.
all right, here we go. So I wrote, here we go. So I wrote, never forget why comics matter. In order for the Wachowskis to get one of the greatest cinematic shots in film history, they hired a comic book artist to make it happen. This is why the comics medium will always be the best, in my opinion. And look at that.
Mm, that is cool.
And look at that. Trinity, help!
Yeah.
And then look at that.
Now, kind of, did they ever actually make this into a comic?
I don't think so. No, I think they were strictly storyboard artists. He
No,
he
that
probably
that'd
did
be
draw the comic, and it just did it. And he just did it for the directors,
yeah.
because they hired him. They pretty much put him on payroll, and they said, "Okay, you're gonna help us visualize this movie." And they probably described to him what they were looking for, and this is what he gave them. But this, for me, just solidified and confirmed why comic books is such a better medium in terms of telling the story. Because this still works. This still looks cool
Oh, yeah.
as a
And
comic
this
book.
was what, back in what, 99?
99, yeah.
Yeah.
And it took, a comic book artist to tell a film director, the film directors, how to properly do it. So that's why I'm always going to be a champion for comics. That's why I'm always going to hate Hollywood forever, because they took the blood, sweat, and tears of all these creators who made comic books cool and fun and interesting for young minds like myself, yours, and everyone else who picked up a comic book in their lifetime, and they just pretty much stole. They not stole. I shouldn't say stole it. They patted themselves on the back.
Hmm.
We did this. MCU is our thing. If it
Look
wasn't
how
for
great
us,
we are.
yeah, if it wasn't for us knowing how to take this and make it into a cool movie, then none of this would have been possible. And it's like, no, dude, you don't understand like how much creativity went into making some of these great comic book stories that we still remember to this day.
Yeah, and building out the fans that went to go and see the stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Crenshaw says a good splash or 2-page spread is like pausing on the very best parts of that. Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
100%. So yeah, I just wanted to share that last part of it because I thought it was a very, interesting observation, and also it just confirmed that comic books are the better medium for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, comic books are great. I'm always going to be a champion for them, and I produce my own, and
Yeah.
I have a lot more stuff coming out in the pipeline. So keep an ear out for that. I got some things brewing, and I'm hoping I can get it done soon, so that way I can
Yes.
share them with you guys, because there's a lot of stuff that I was looking through my hard drive, and I was like, damn, I gotta get on this. So
And also potentially something that we both might be working on.
yeah, something. Hopefully,
Mhm.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
So yeah, Kyle, any last things you want to say before we call it a night?
No, just to, always build those experiences and read more comic books. Because they're
All
looking
right.
up.
All right. So I always try to find something interesting um, when it comes to
Or
the end of the
funny.
show. And so I did find something this week, and I think it's worth to share because it involves someone who I revere, and I think it's also someone who I always tell every artist that I work with who's never heard of them, or maybe they've heard of them but they never really bothered to look at their work or his work, and that's Jack Kirby.
Oh, okay.
So every time I discover an artist who just wants to draw comics, but they were, they were raised on McFarlane or they were raised on Jim Lee, and that's great. Nothing wrong with that. But I always
Frank
try to,
Miller.
or yeah, Mark or Frank Miller. I always tell them that's great that you were inspired by those artists, but you must study Jack Kirby. I did. I went out of my way to just study his work. His art style is not to my liking personally.
Yeah.
However, that's not why I studied him. I studied him because he truly was the grandmaster of sequentials.
Well, you don't like the Kirby crackle?
Oh, I love the Kirby crackle. Are you kidding me? No, dude, I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. And so I saw this video and I thought it was a great 2-minute clip of him explaining where he gets his ideas from, how he's inspired. And you always want to hear how the masters who came before you were inspired and like created stuff that's memorable and revered to this day. Because if I want to be part of you know, the Mount Rushmore of comic book creators, I have to learn from the masters. So with that said, guys, I hope you guys have a good weekend and we'll see you on the next one. Take care. Peace.
Bye, guys. I can't hear it.
Can't hear it? Oh,
No.
God dang, man. Hold on. Let me fix this.
Tell you, we go through and
We had
we
a good
make
run.
sure
We had a good run this time around, and now
it almost all worked.
it
But
almost all came together beautifully.
For some reason,
okay, we're good.
I had to come up with characters that were no longer stereotypes. In other words, I couldn't depend on gangsters. I had to get something new. And of course, for some reason, I went to the Bible. I came up with Galactus. And there I was in front of this tremendous figure who I knew very well because I've always felt him, and I certainly couldn't treat him in the same way that I would any ordinary mortal. And I remember in my first story, I had to back away from him to resolve that story. And of course, the Silver Surfer is the fallen angel. And when Galactus relegated him to Earth, he stayed on Earth. And that was the beginning of his adventures. And they were figures that had never before been used in comics. They were above mythic figures. And of course, they were the first gods. And I began thinking along those lines. And the new gods evolved from those lines. And I began to ask myself, everybody else had their gods. What are ours? What is the shape of our society in the form of myth and legend? Who are our gods? Who are our evil gods? And who are our good ones? And I tried to resolve them in the new gods. And I came up with some very, very interesting characters and very good sales, which satisfied me immensely. Now, I didn't resolve the questions. I'm a guy who lives with a lot of questions. I say, what's out there? And I try to resolve that. And I never can. I don't think anybody can. Who's got the answers? I sure would like to hear the ultimate one, but I haven't yet. And so I live with a lot of questions. And I find that entertaining. I find that entertaining.